After 3 rounds of the NBA Cup in-season tournament, I think it's safe to say it's been a success. If the NBA was concerned about players not giving 100% intensity early in the schedule, well, let me tell you, we had plenty of it and more last night. Not only did the Warriors and Timberwolves get into it, we had some feistiness between the Spurs and Thunder as Vasilij Micić gets pulled down by the wrist by Zach Collins. Kendrick Williams lets him know how he feels. Collins steps up and fouls him with his legs, and let the pushing begin. Anthony Davis let us know why the players might be treating these tournament games with a little more juice.
500 sound real good to us, you know? It's gonna bring that juice, you know what I mean? You know, I heard one of our players, I'm gonna say who, but it was like, man, and we beat Phoenix, like that's one step closer to this 500. I've never had that before, so it's like, you know, that's a little extra motivation.
If you think this melee between the Warriors and Timberwolves erupted out of the blue, think again. They had played 2 nights before, and Draymond had gotten into it with Anthony Edwards. It all started with this nice steal of a cross-court pass, and as Edwards got himself within distance of the rim, Draymond fouls him here and then again strips down hard, barely making a play for the ball. Once you start talking to Draymond, you never really stop, as Ant found out with Draymond talking to anybody he could get near. The refs, Rudy, the ball boy. Meanwhile, Edwards let his play do the talking over the next several minutes, demoralizing the Warriors as the Wolves took control and hung on to hang an L on Golden State. Cut to last night, where some of us were expecting some shenanigans. I just didn't think it would be this early in the game, and I certainly didn't think it would start between Klay and Jaden McDaniels. So, 90 seconds into the game, Edwards shoots the step back and Klay goes to box out McDaniels. For some reason, he grabs a handful of jersey and pushes him back. McDaniels grabs his arm with both of his hands and then yanks. But that was going to be it for Klay. He put his head down and starts running back up court. Because they're still connected like this, McDaniels interprets the contact as aggressive, so he grabs Klay's jersey and yanks on it hard. As Klay loses his balance, he grabs McDaniels' jersey, both to get balance and retaliate, and McDaniels yanks even harder to shuck him to the floor. Now Klay fully retaliates with a yank of his own on the jersey, and we've got a full-on ruckus. Draymond wraps his arm around Rudy's throat and pulls him backwards. Let's be clear, this is not a peacekeeping move by any stretch and should get him suspended for several games. And if we're wondering why he targeted Rudy like this, there is some notion that he likes to get himself ejected from games that Steph Curry does not play in. According to this article and the data from SpotTrack, Draymond has been ejected 18 times in his career. And while the first 7 happened with Curry on the court, 7 of the last 11 have happened when Steph has been hurt, and perhaps he felt like there was no hope in winning these games and needed the ticket back to the locker room. Meanwhile, the show must go on, and we got the Brandon Podziemski show, which kept them in the game despite being so short-handed. He's a sharpshooter, so if you get yourself hung up on the ball screen, forget about it. And he's got a serious floater game. On the zoom action, he comes off the pin down out of the corner into handoff. Rudy has to deal with the curl and his man rolling, and Kyle Anderson can't recover in time. He's got a great feel for the game as he slides under the guards in the zone and makes the right read for the nifty bounce pass to GP. Check the skill level as he uses the off-foot inside hand layup on Conley with his weaker right hand. And he throws both defenders off their timing by slowing down the last step before jumping, finishing with a great and one. At the end of this playoff-like game, the Warriors have a prime 2-for-1 situation down 1 point. I know Rudy is an imposing figure in the lane, but Chris Paul has to shoot this. I know he missed this one over Rudy earlier in the 4th, but instead it's a kick out to Saric, who takes a split second too long on the release, and Gobert gets an incredible block. Now it's Edwards' turn to continue on his MVP path. On the drive, he draws 4 defenders into the paint, then fires an off-target pass to Conley's feet, who recovers this one to get it off with a unique follow-through and drains it to end the game. There is no question there's a whole new level of excitement and interest with these in-season tournament games, and that means you're going to want to be there in person for as many as possible, which is why you must download SeatGeek, the best app to find tickets to any sporting event, concert, or the theater. With just a few taps, SeatGeek will scour the internet for the best deals out there, giving them a grade so you know what kind of value you're getting. They're rated #1 on Trustpilot amongst all major ticketers, so you can feel secure that your tickets are legit. Best of all, you can save $20 off your first purchase by using my code BBALL. So head over to SeatGeek now and you can enjoy all your favorite NBA teams live and in person. We had the Clippers team finally looking a little bit like what they could become, as James Harden had his best game so far. But they went ultra small ball against Jokic down the stretch, and the Nuggets just kept running the same play. A double screen to the right elbow to get him an opening on that left block to go to work. They didn't double team initially, and I think that was a mistake. Here's the same play where PG has to pick him up, and he does a good job at forcing the catch farther from the basket. With poor weak side spacing, they had an opening to double, but they don't, and Kawhi jumps away from the hoop as Jokic cleans up the miss and puts it back in. When they finally do double him on that block, they get what they want. He gives it up with a pass that doesn't hurt them. Watch Terrence Mann down low. He cannot separate from Gordon directly under the hoop, at least until Powell is connected to Gordon himself. Powell, in turn, looks like he intends to sprint to the corner, which is totally fine, but by the time he realizes what Mann did, it's too late. Nice pass by Reggie. They set up the same play once again, and notice how all the defenders are so concerned with Jokic, they don't pay attention to the most important thing, the ball. Paul George should have come over to help with Harden sinking to the right block, but PG has no idea where the ball is, and Reggie gives them a 3-point lead. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, so they go to it one more time, and the Clippers are an inch away from stealing this with Kawhi fronting the post. But there's no recognition by these two that George went to double. They don't move, and Gordon does the rest. The Clippers, meanwhile, folded down the stretch. On 2 key possessions late, they didn't seem to realize how much time was left on the shot clock, forcing them to suddenly heap up impossible shots. This simply cannot happen with good teams. And we have to contemplate something crazy, that Kawhi is just not the same guy anymore. Finishing this dunk through the slightest contact by Porter Jr. shouldn't have been an issue, and watching him struggle to finish all game, it was mind-boggling they called an elevator play for Kawhi. Something that takes too long to develop, but more importantly, this tends to only work when the cutter through the doors sets a screen first. Instead, Kawhi just stands there until he cuts, and Denver easily switches it, leaving George to toss one up that ultimately ended the game. The reason the tournament has been a resounding success so far is because so many of these games have epic endings. Tyrese Halliburton will get his video soon, but just check how he first gets the isolation on Jared Allen, thinking he can take him to the hoop, only to be upended unceremoniously while the Cavs come down the court. But check the incredible hustle to make Garland pay for the silly mistake to throw a 20-foot cross-court pass without any arc on it. Meanwhile, Halliburton wanted another shot at the mountain, this time the wise decision to create a step-back 3 off the dribble, and by burying this shot in Allen's face, it ended the game of possession early. Who could forget Steph's heroics on this last-second layup, made all the more difficult since he might have waited a little too long to begin his drive, but also because he had to get it off over the very long arms of Chet Holmgren. Now, you might have assumed that if a player touches the rim while the ball is above the cylinder, it's a goaltend. But it turns out that as long as either Draymond or Giddey does not touch the ball, they are allowed to touch the net and the rim so long as the ball doesn't take an unnatural bounce. So, count this incredible game winner that capped off a ridiculous barn burner. The Rockets have injected excitement in their games the likes we haven't seen in a few years, and this Week 2 NBA Cup game had all the thrills. It looked like the Pelicans had this game in the bag, controlling the score for most of it, but friend of the breakdown Fred VanVleet decided to detonate with 2 huge 3-pointers after saving the possession with this heads-up rebound before floating the corner for a quick-release jumper. Then, without CJ McCollum, the Pelicans don't get into their offense particularly well, and Dillon Brooks almost puts a saddle on Ingram for a ride, causing him to fall, and they have a chance. But holy moly, does Zion want that winner's cash at the end of this tournament? A violent chase down block that could have saved the game for the Pellies, but instead, VanVleet carves their hearts out and eats it in front of them with this deep bomb when Zion drops too low and can't get a hand up in time. Now, the Pelicans need to run a play to get a 3. They can't take that long either. This was supposed to be a slip ball screen by Matt Ryan and then a flare screen for him. This doesn't materialize. Ingram can't get the contested 3 to fall, and they get one more chance to make a free throw, then miss one on purpose, try to get the rebound, and put the ball in. But Larry Nance Jr. gets it mixed up and misses the first and makes the second to end this one in a thrilling yet head-scratching way. So you've got to tune in to these in-season tournament games. For the first time in decades, we're witnessing games in November that have playoff intensity and, more importantly, go down to the wire in crazy ways. I know I can't wait for the finals in Vegas, and stay tuned for more breakdowns like these as the bracket continues.